Welcome back to TMZ Live. One of the biggest issues that we're dealing with now in the pandemic really isn't directly have to do with COVID-19. It's about how it's affecting our children, all the children who have been either pulled out of school altogether or have been doing remote learning. Look, remote learning is a stopgap measure so that kids can actually still be getting some education, but it's largely not working. A lot of kids are either failing or just falling behind. It's something that has to be addressed. I mean,
it's a mess.
We're literally talking about our future.
It's a crisis and it's a mess.
Yeah. So how do we tackle this problem? How do we even begin to tackle this problem? Because every day that we're in this situation, it is compounding. So we wanted to address this with someone who's very familiar with these issues because he is the former Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, and he is joining us right now. Secretary, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So there's so much to talk about here, but just broadly, it just feels like these kids are suffering so much just in terms of socialization, not to mention education. How do they come out of this when we're talking now about a year of basically being away from everything that socializes and educates children?
First of all, I think we need a national tutoring program, a national tutoring initiative. We have a couple million kids who, as you say, have fallen significantly behind, whether it's physically, virtually, a hybrid, both. We have to help those kids catch up. We cannot have a lost year here. We can't afford to do that. Secondly, it's not just the kids are falling behind. We have possibly between 2 and 3 million students who literally have not been back to school since March. They've just fallen off the radar. We have to go knock on doors. We have to find those children. We have to figure out what they need and do everything we can to help them. Third, we need to try to open schools as quickly and safely as we can. Vice President Biden, President-elect Biden, obviously has talked a lot about that and the investment needed, which has been missing. We've never had any investment from the Trump administration in making our schools safer. But then you sort of hit on it. It's not just the education piece. I've done a weekly call since March around feeding children and their families. Obviously, food insecurity across the country has skyrocketed. We have to continue to feed kids. We have to take care of their social and emotional health. Schools aren't just places of learning. They're social safety nets. And it's just been heroic work at the local level. Superintendents, teachers, principals do whatever they can to help their kids, but we should not have been in this situation.
Secretary, the reality is that this is going to continue in some form for probably another 6 months at least. That takes you through the end of this school year. And I'm just curious, one of the things that's been highlighted, and we've seen a lot of these stories, is just the disparity in poorer neighborhoods where kids, we've seen the photos and videos of kids sitting outside of going to school and sitting outside of the school because that's the only place they can get internet service. And that is something that's going to have to be addressed at some point, either during the pandemic or after, that there is this huge gap. And how do we tackle that?
Well, what this pandemic has done is it's obviously sort of uncovered the raw and the huge inequalities in our country and in our educational system. So whenever there's a crisis, a public health crisis, an economic crisis, all of it wrapped into one, a crisis of systemic racism, we know that our poorest, our most marginalized, our most vulnerable kids and communities, they get hit first, they get hit the hardest, and it has the longest lasting impact. And that is absolutely true here. So on just the issue of our devices, access to computers, access to Wi-Fi and the internet, we have to make that as ubiquitous as water and electricity in our country. And the idea that children can only learn in a physical school building 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, 9 months a year makes no sense whatsoever. Our children, be it in inner city communities, be it in Appalachia, be it on Native American reservations, need to be able to learn anything they want, anytime, anywhere, any place, 24/7. We just have to commit to getting that done now. It should have happened pre-pandemic. It has to happen now.
I'm just curious, who are the kids most at risk in terms of the socialization of all of this? Are we talking about young kids, teenagers? I mean, it's impacting all of them, but which is the most concerning to you, just in terms of socializing and isolation?
In terms of the socialization, I think they're all missing out. And I really, really worry about that, quite frankly. Little kids grow up wanting to play tag, to touch each other, just to, enjoy each other's company. Human beings are by nature just social beings. As teens, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to date, you're trying to, navigate all that stuff and figure that out. And we have basically, again, because honestly, I'm very honest, because we as adults have been selfish, because we've been short-sighted, because we haven't been willing to make small sacrifices so our children can have big, big gains. Across the board, from our youngest children to our teens to our college students, we have really deprived them of some really formative and important time. And obviously, we don't get that back.
Well, look, we so appreciate you spending time with us. Can I ask you one other kind of personal thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a 6'5" guy.
Oh, I know.
You played basketball at Harvard. You just kill it with the Celebrity All-Star Games. How proud are you? Your ex-boss's three-pointer.
I loved it, and had I known that was coming, I would have bet a lot of money on it.
See, I knew that he was going to ask you that, Secretary, because Harvey infamously looks at the backgrounds when we have people on, and the basketball back there. That's what keyed him off there, I think.
That's my fault. I set myself up. I should know better.
Yeah. and over the years, we've gotten you out, and you've been so gracious, and it really is an honor to have you on. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day. And again, appreciate you covering a really, really serious topic.
Maybe we'll talk again soon. Thank you again.
Happy to. Have a good day. Thanks so much.